Hi, I'm Zai, and today I'm gonna show you my first complete workflow that I've made using Active Pieces. This workflow is in a Telegram bot that can be useful to calculate insulin doses and calculate carbohydrates in a meal that you may take. But the bot is not accurate yet, and you cannot use it to calculate your actual insulin doses. So let's start and see how it works. So this is the bot. And for example, I'm gonna take a meal, which is a regular shawarma meal that has a regular shawarma sandwich and small portion of French fries. I'm gonna send the message and the bot gonna respond with the estimated insulin dose and the carbohydrates in the meal, which is also estimated. Okay, and here's the response, which is the estimated insulin dose 7.5 and the estimated carbs in food 60. And it also calculates my daily carbs intake, which is 135. And now let's go back to Active Pieces and see how I made it. And here's my workflow. It starts when I have any new messages in my Telegram bot or to my Telegram bot. I take the message which has the meal content and send it to ChatGPT. Hi ChatGPT, you are an assistant for calculating carbohydrates in food. Always respond with a single number only, representing the total carbohydrates in grams with no additional text or explanation, which makes ChatGPT estimate the amount of carbohydrates in my meal and output the number. Next step, I take the number, the estimated carbohydrates in my meal from ChatGPT and divide it on 8. 8 is the carbohydrates ratio, which is known by the patients with diabetes because that's how they calculate their insulin doses. Okay, and in the next step, I will send the response to the user. In this step, I use the chat ID, which came from the trigger, and then the helpful data, the insulin dose coming from the previous step, the math helper, and the estimated carbs in food, which is coming from ChatGPT. All right, so now we will do multiple steps for the records because we are gonna have a different output, a different helpful output to the user, which is my daily carb intake. For that, we will first format the date from uh, this timestamp to a timestamp 2, but in my time zone. My current time zone is Amman. So GMT plus 3 and it will output a timestamp. Why I'm using the timestamp here? To use it as an ID for the records. I will go to Google Sheets, find the sheet name, which is the same user ID coming from the Telegram bot, and then find the worksheet, which is called carb calc, and then I will insert the outputs of the previous steps, which are the date, the timestamp, and the meal, which is coming from the user, and the carbohydrates amount, and then the insulin dose. After that, I format the date again to get the daily carb intake using the data helper, and I will format it this time from the timestamp to a regular date, 2023, September 17, for example, which is also in my time zone. I will go to the worksheet that has my total carb, which is my daily carb intake. And then in step number 11, it will search for the date of the day and it will output two columns, the date and the daily carb intake, which we will send to the user in the next step, and the final send text message from the bot to the user. which is daily carbs intake and the data that we got from the previous step. And that is not everything for today. Let's go to the second part, which is a different workflow that can be called by Cloud. Okay, we'll come to this flow, which can be called by Cloud. Once it's triggered, I will get the current date so I can search my records and then get the first row to make the retrieved data readable by Cloud, which are the titles here, timestamp, meal, and etc. And then in the find rows step, I will search for the data that matches today's date, and it will retrieve my meals, time and date, and then the carbohydrates amount and the insulin dose. I will take both of these titles and the data and create it in this file, a text file that contains them, and then extract the file again. And so I can send finally as a response to Cloud. So Cloud can analyze and help me. Okay, let's go and use it. Okay, and this is the final test. We are in Cloud and I will send this request. Analyze my carbohydrates intake and the food I had today. Provide me with advice about diet, including what I should change or adjust. By triggering the active pieces MCP workflow, you will retrieve today's food data for analysis. And I will send this message or this request to Cloud. Let's wait for the response. It's hitting the workflow. Okay, and now it started to give us the summary, detailed analysis, and key recommendations. Immediate changes needed by eliminating late night eating, cut liquid calories, reduce added sugar, meal timing improvements, better carbohydrates choices, and so on. So by using Cloud to analyze my carbohydrates intake, timings of my meals, the insulin doses, I can ask it a lot of questions and get helpful responses. So in the next last part, we will talk about the future features and enhancements. The next video, we will see adjustments in the workflow to make it faster and light, and then so the user then will also be able to get insights about other nutrition facts like calories, protein intake, and etc. So it can deliver better feedback and give helpful advices about the daily habits. And then we will also enhance the usability and the UI in the Telegram bot, which is not really a UI, just about the commands and how we chat with the bot. And in the last point, we will try to achieve more accurate estimations about the nutrition facts. And that's everything for today. Thank you so much for watching.